Hey guys, sup? Carlos Spinks here, bringing you guys some more Magic the Gathering online content today. Bringing you guys a replay, actually, of a 1v1 game I did with my Athreos God of Passage deck. This is actually the best I have ever performed, both with my Athreos deck ever, and probably just in general in a Commander game in quite some time. So let's go ahead and check it out. So as you can see, my opponent Joder won here has won the die roll. He is going to choose to go first. The Commander roll call is Athreos for me and Esika God of the Tree for him. I mulligan down to 6, getting rid of one of my cards. And we're going to see him play an island as his land for turn, passing over to me. I draw into Varragoth Bloodsky Sire and play a Plains as my land for turn, passing turn after that. He will then play a Swamp on his turn and pass. I will draw into Ravenous Demon, play a Swamp, cast Shadowborn Apostle, pass the turn. Everything is pretty standard so far. We see him play a Well-Acquired Tower and pass turn. I draw into a Shadowborn Apostle, play a Swamp as my land for turn, and pass out for Varragoth Bloodsky Sire. Varragoth Bloodsky Sire is a 2/3 legendary demon rogue for 2 and a black with Death Touch, meaning any amount of damage it deals is enough to destroy a creature it battles, and it has Boast for 1 and a black. So target player searches their library for a card, and then shuffles and puts that card on top. However, as part of Boast's mechanic, you can only boast if you've attacked that turn. However, you can attack and then boast immediately after declaring the attack with it. You can boast at any time. So, that being said, you also want to pay attention to the wording on it, as I've gone over in my deck tech, that Varragoth specifically says target player search their library, so it's a very political card, and you're about to see later on why that becomes so important. Shadowborn Apostle, you've already seen what it does, both in the gameplay video as well as the deck tech, so I'm just going to let that kind of stay where it is because it's not very relevant to this game. So, I swing in for 1, and he goes down to 39. His commander is a 3-drop, but he needs a source of 2 sources of green. I actually thought it was 2 in green, but it's 1 double green. But from my experience, most people actually cast it as the Prismatic Bridge, which requires WUBRG. And right now, after he plays his Arcane Sanctum rather, as his land for turn, he only has access to 3 colors. So yeah, just gonna pass turn. Really doesn't have anything he can do. I play my Opal Palace, and then I decide to cast my commander as well as a Shadowborn Apostle. I'm sorry, I decide to cast Shadowborn Apostle, swing in with both Shadowborn Apostle and Varragoth, activate the Boast ability of Varragoth, tutor up an Urborg, goes to the top of my library. He goes from 40 down to 39 from last turn, and 39 down to 38 with the Shadowborn Apostle, and 38 down to 36 with Varragoth. I draw for, he plays a Homeward Path and passes turn. I draw into an Urborg, which I tutored for, and plays my land for turn, making every land a swamp in addition to their other types. I now have exactly enough to where I can cast Athreos from the command zone and still boast, so that's what I do. Sorry, I got a turn ahead of myself there. I swing out with both my Shadowrun Apostles and Varragoth. I would go over Athreos, but I've already gone over it, and again, it's not very relevant to the game. He's at 36. He goes down to 32 off of this attack, and then I also boast after attacking, while declaring my attackers, tutoring for a Cabal Coffers. We see him play a Mazavith, which is actually very good for him, because that Mazavith is going to allow him to prevent some of the damage he'd be taking. It doesn't actually end up really doing anything aside from just removing that one creature from combat. If Aragorn had to deal damage in order to get the tutor, it'd be much worse. But it's on attack. Well, anytime after you declare an attack with it. So, he's gonna play a Mazavith and tap down most of his lands for a Chain Veil for some reason. Which, in case you don't know what the Chain Veil does, at the beginning of your end step, if you didn't activate a loyalty ability of a Planeswalker this turn, he loses 2 life. The controller of it does. So he goes from 32 down to 30. But I guess he just wanted the, false little, victory of being able to actually cast something this game. So, passing turn to me, I joined in my Cabal Coffers. I play it as my land for turn. First thing I do, of course, is use it. Activated ability to generate 6 mana. I cast the Shadowborn Apostle and the Bolas' Citadel. Bolas' Citadel actually is pretty relevant because it's more or less what allowed me to win this game as quickly as I did. Spoiler alerts, but I mean, you can kind of tell already that I was going to win. But it's a legendary artifact for 3 generic mana and triple black. You may look at the top card of your library at any time, and you may play lands and or cast spells from the top of your library. However, if you cast a spell this way, you lose life equal to its mana cost rather than pay its mana cost. You can also tap it and sacrifice 10 non-land permanents to drain each opponent for 10 life, but that's not very relevant. One interesting interaction here that actually allows me to get a lot more advantage off of it than I normally would be able to is I can actually tutor a card to the top of my library that I will then cast at Bolas' Citadel. Whereas otherwise I have just been stuck waiting for this land to get out of the top of my library and into my hand. So I swing in with my team. Athreos is now finally a creature with 9 devotion. So that is a total of 9 damage, 5 of which is commander, going down to 21 with 5 commander. I boast and tutor up. He is going to, hang on. He is going to Mazavith my commander, so he goes down to, only goes down to 26. I tutor Ob Nixilis Unshackled to the top. This actually is very important, so I'll go over this. It's a 4/4 legendary demon for 4 and double black with flying and trample. Whenever an opponent searches their library, that player sacrifices a creature and loses 10 life. And also, whenever another creature, not non-token, whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Ob Nixilis Unshackled. Doesn't even have to be under your control. Doesn't matter if it's a token or not. So I pay 6 life to cast it, going from 40 down to 34. I then go from 34 down to 30, casting Rite of Belzenlok from the top of my library. Enchantment Saga, 2 double black. First 2 chapters create 2/0/1 black cleric creature tokens. Third chapter create a 6/6 black demon creature token with flying trample. And at the beginning of my upkeep, sacrifice another creature. If I can't, it deals 6 damage to me. I also cast Dream Devourer, going from 30 down to 28. This card doesn't really mean anything. It's just another demon. So in the grand scheme of this game, it doesn't mean anything really. So I'm not going to go over it. Erebos, again, doesn't really do anything aside from preventing him from gaining any life, which wouldn't have mattered anyway because of the damage I had on board. So I cast Erebos, draining myself for 4, going from 28 down to 24. I then cast Dread, going from 24 down to 18. Dread is just a nice little oppressive creature for 3 and double black. It is a 6/6 elemental incarnation of fear. It can't be blocked except by artifact creatures or black creatures. Whenever a creature deals damage to me, it gets destroyed. That does include my own creatures, so it's a bit of a non-bow in that sense, but it doesn't really matter. And whenever it's put into a graveyard from anywhere, it gets shuffled into the owner's library. After that, I then pass turn to him. He plays a Plains land for turn and passes Chainveil, pings him for 2, shocks him for 2, I should say, rather. Going from 26 down to 24, I draw into a Cleanse, and I play Shadowborn Apostle from the top of my library, going from 18 down to 17. In addition, I then cast my Ravenous Demon, which is a 4/4 demon for 3 and double black. Surprisingly enough, it doesn't fly or trample or anything. However, it has an activated ability of sacrificing a human to transform itself that I can only do at sorcery speed. That's incredible because you can do that at instant speed since it doesn't require it to tap. I'm sorry, not instant speed. You can do that the same turn it comes down because it doesn't require itself to tap in order to use that activated ability. So that's very nice. Excuse me. Grabbing a drink, a sip of my drink there. Excuse me. I didn't sacrifice one of my Shadowborn Apostles to flip Ravenous Demon. That triggers Ob Nixilis Unshackled and Athreos. Ob Nixilis gets 1 bigger, and Athreos attempts to drain him for 3, but it gets returned to my hand, and then I just recast the Shadowborn Apostle. Vesuva is at the top of my library, which kind of sucks because, again, I've already played my lane for turn, which is actually, I will admit, a bit of a misplay on my part. I just kind of played the land that I had in my hand without thinking about it, but what I should have done is play Vesuva, having it enter as a capped copy of Cabal Coffers, which would have given me access to like literally double, if not triple, the amount of mana I have now. But it doesn't matter. I was already dealing with basically infinite mana that I didn't even need because of Bolas Citadel, so that's fine. As far as Archfiend of Greed is a 9/9 Flying Trampler. At the beginning of my upkeep, I sacrifice a human. If I can't, it gets tapped and deals 9 damage to me. But again, that's never going to be a problem. I proceed to my combat step. Hang on, what happens here? Oh yeah, okay. So what I do is I activate Erebos with the 2 black floating I have, losing 2 life, paying 1 on a black and 2 life to draw a card, draining myself from from 12 down to 10. Divinity of Pride at that point is the top of my library, which I'm not going to go over because it doesn't matter. I drain myself for 5, going from 10. I then go from I then go from 15 down to 10 rather, and I start swinging out. I tutor. I get a Westvale Abbey, just because I mean Westvale Abbey is one of those lands where you're never going to really use its activated ability at any point during the game, unless you're incredibly far ahead. But basically, if you're ever at a point where you can reliably activate Westvale Abbey and it be anything even approximating a decent play, which even then isn't a decent play, you're already winning that game, without a doubt. The only time you'd be using Westvale Abbey's activated ability is if you have like infinite mana, or you're just trying to showboat like I am here. I mean, the only reason I really did it is because I probably am never going to be able to flip Westvale Abbey again. But yeah, I mean, this is just such an awful card. I mean, it really is terrible. But yeah, I pass turn to him. He passes turn back to me, I guess, assuming, yeah, I'm just going to swing out going directly into my combat step. Draining himself for 2 with the Chain Veil, going from 6 to 4. During my upkeep, Archfiend of Greed triggers. I sacrifice a Shadowborn Apostle, which triggers Athreos and Ob Nixilis. Ob Nixilis gets 1 bigger. Athreos triggers pointing itself at Dirty One. At this point, he knows he's losing the game, so he's like, alright, whatever. I might as well just go ahead and pay, because, you know, I'm dead. I'm dead a million times over anyway. Going from 4 down to 1, I draw the Westville Abbey and play it as my land for turn. I then, oh yeah, my Rite of Belzenlok flips into, not flips, turns into a demon, which is nice. That's fine. So anyway, I activate Cabal Coffers, floating 7 mana. I'm sorry, floating 8 mana. I pay 5 of it and tap Westville Abbey, getting rid of my 4/0/1 Clerics, which is incredible because I've already gone over this in the deck tech, but Rite of Belzenlok is amazing with Westville Abbey, just incredible synergy, creating 4 worthless creatures that you can sacrifice there, and you do technically still get Athreos triggers. Other than that, though, I kind of struggle a little bit here thinking about what else I want to get rid of, because I just kind of like having everything that I have here. But eventually I just decide I'll go ahead and sack a Shadowborn Apostle. It really doesn't matter. So I do that. That triggers Athreos and Ob Nixilis 4 times. Ob Nixilis gets, I'm sorry, 5 times. Ob Nixilis gets 5 bigger, going to an 11/11 Flying Trampler. And then in addition to that, I also get a trigger, well, 5 triggers off of Athreos. 4 of them don't matter because they're just tokens. They go away forever when they leave the battlefield anyway. And then my Shadowborn Apostle, the way Athreos works is if you target an opponent with less than 3 life with his trigger, you automatically get the creature back to your hand, because one of Magic's rules is you can't pay life you don't have. So I go ahead and do that, and that happens. Shadowborn Apostle goes back to my hand. I get a million triggers that I start to resolve. Dream Devourer, I'm sorry. Dream Devourer and Shadowborn Apostle is what I get rid of. I mean, it doesn't really matter what I sacrifice. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, never mind. That's right. I get rid of my 3 Shadowborn Apostles and my Dream Devourer, because I actually don't, alongside a token, because it doesn't really matter to me, because I know I'm just going to get them all back and I can cast them all anyway. But anyway, I decided to go ahead and cast my Dream Devourer, as well as a Shadowborn Apostle. Here is the very interesting part about this game, the very ending here. So I attack him with my Varigoth, and I try to make him a deal, because originally I was going to draw this out, just kind of playing with my food here, but it doesn't really matter, because I noticed something as I'm attacking. I'm like, oh wait, it doesn't matter, because I attack with Varigoth, I pay 2 to have someone tutor, which is exactly as much mana as I have now. I target him with the Varigoth trigger to allow him to tutor. However, you'll notice with Varigoth, it says target player searches their library, not target player may search their library. So when I target someone with Varigoth, they have to search their library, meaning that after pointing the trigger at him, Ob Nixilis will trigger, he will lose 10 life, going from 1 down to -9, and I will win the game in what is quite possibly the most flashy, fashionable ways I have ever won a game of Magic the Gathering. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been your host, Cardmaster Phoenix, signing out. See you guys next time. Have a good one. And thank you again for all your support.